I wouldn't be able to do this if I didn't do this. Why? Let's dive into it. Prehab, welcome back to the channel. Dr. Craig Lindell, and today we're diving further in the strengthening exercises that runners should be doing. If you haven't seen our first video, definitely check it out as it highlights some of our favorite exercises. But you have all asked for even more exercises, and when should we be adding strengthening to our training schedule as runners? So let's get those questions answered today. Before we dive into strengthening exercises for runners, let's get a better understanding of the biomechanics behind running and why we want to introduce specific strengthening exercises into your training routine. When we look at running, it truly is a single leg sport where we have a propulsion phase, a flight phase, and a braking phase. While running is a fairly natural movement, lots of systems are working to keep us up against gravity that we don't even realize or think about. To start, the feet are making contact with the ground during the braking phase to control each and every step. Then, upon initial contact, they start in a more supinated position, roll into pronation and mid stance, and end in that more supinated position with toe off to drive that propulsion phase. From our feet, forces are transferred up the lower extremity into our calf muscles, knee muscles, and hip muscles. The soleus muscle, which is part of the calf muscle complex, has to be able to accept up to 8 times our body weight when running. That's insane. As we work our way further up the chain, those forces are transferred through the hip and the core musculature, the low back, the mid back, and even up to the cervical spine, as this needs to be stable to allow our eyes and proprioceptive system to keep us going forward and not trip over any objects coming our way. So yes, lots of systems are working when we run, and we want to tailor our strengthening routine to meet the demands of the sport. With all that being said, what exercises can we do to strengthen these muscles to help keep us on our feet feeling healthy? Let's do a quick dive into all the muscles we've discussed so far. When we look at what muscles we want to strengthen with running, we want to focus on 2 different groups, the movers and the stabilizers. Movers get our limbs going, such as our gluteal muscles, whereas our stabilizers work to keep certain areas more steady, such as our core musculature and the low back multifidi muscles. The muscles that are most active while we run include the glutes, as they help to get our hip into extension, the gluteus medius, which helps to keep us upright in that single leg position. Our quad muscles play a big role in keeping us from collapsing to the ground. And then our hamstring muscles, the gastroc and soleus complex, the tibialis anterior and tibialis posterior, our hip flexors, our core, which consists of muscles like the transverse abdominis, the multifidi on our back, and even our diaphragm are all working as well to help propel us forward and keep us balanced. Now I know what you're thinking, this is an overwhelming list. How am I going to work all these muscles? You're in luck. I'll be showing you exercises that target multiple muscle groups because the reality is while we're running, these muscle groups are asked to work together. So let's get started. Let's start with the knee because we know, unfortunately, this is where 40% of running related injuries occur. When looking at the knee, we want to focus specifically on quad strengthening in some sort of single leg stance position, while ideally targeting the calf as well. One of our favorite exercises for this, a Bulgarian split squat soleus raise. When performing this exercise, if we keep our weight forward on that front leg, you will feel yourself working the quadricep and calf even more, which is important because again, these muscles play a big role to help you not collapse on the ground when running. With adding in that heel raise at the bottom of the motion, you will better target the soleus muscle, which is made up of more type 1 muscle fibers, meaning it's an endurance workhorse. Again, if you haven't watched our video on the soleus, why every runner needs to be strengthening it, do so here after this video. Really important for this exercise and every exercise we show you in this video, don't be afraid of loading it up with weight or resistance. Yes, runners, I said it. You can lift heavy and you should. If you are lifting at 65 to 80% of your 1 rep max, we can shoot for anywhere from 2 to 3 sets of 6 to 12 reps while training 2 to 3 times a week. With this exercise, I'm moving as much weight as I can. Really important for this exercise and every exercise we show you in this video, soleus muscle has to be able to accept up to 8 times our body weight. There's no better way to work on this other than lifting weights. So we just covered some really important mover muscles. But what about targeting the other muscles that play more of a stabilizing role? such as the core musculature. A great stabilization exercise for runners to perform is a side plank row with knee drive. Here, we are working on core stability, challenging those lateral core stabilizers and multifidi muscles, as well as the lateral hip musculature, while facilitating that opposite arm and knee movement pattern we see with running. Another exercise to work on hip and core stability is the Captain Morgan. We can use a Swiss ball here to challenge ourselves more by pushing into an unstable surface. And I really encourage you to, again, perform that reciprocal pattern we see with running by swinging your arms, but focus on keeping that pelvis steady and that core strong. When thinking of reps for these types of exercises, we may want to increase our reps here or focus on time duration, such as 45 to 60 seconds, since we're using less weight and working more on the endurance of these muscles. But if you really want to make these exercises spicy and you have the means to do it, add a weight vest or something similar to add external load. Onto the hip flexors and foot muscles. The tibialis anterior, or the muscle that sits on the front of your shin, can often be involved in shin splints and can be neglected when focused on strengthening base exercises. So let's add in a little tibialis anterior work with this exercise. I prefer to perform this exercise with my shoes off so that I am working on some balance, as well as strengthening the small foot intrinsic muscles that are also really important. Again, the arms involved as you perform this, keep the toes up, helping to stabilize that kettlebell to ensure you're working that tibialis anterior muscle correctly. And if you don't have a kettlebell, no stress, you can actually get pretty creative and still do this exercise using a resistance band. So there's no excuses here to skip this one. Okay, let's answer this question now. When should we be adding strengthening into our weekly training routine? A general rule of thumb, add in strengthening exercises on your cross training days or your harder training days as a second workout session. For some of you who are just getting into strength training, lifting, or running, you may want to perform your initial lifting sessions on your non-run training days to start with. This way you are not too fatigued when you work out and you can give all your workouts a really good effort. But ultimately, it comes down to finding what works best for your body and your schedule. But partaking in some form of strengthening work throughout the week is always going to be better than nothing. And be sure to focus on progressively loading your strengthening exercises to get the best results possible. All right, hoping this video provided you with a few more exercises specific to you as a runner, and also when and how to incorporate these exercises into your weekly training routine. If you haven't checked out our first video, definitely do so to see what other exercises we love, and keep letting us know what content you want to see by dropping ideas in the comments below. Until next time, Prehab, see ya.
Hey, did you like this video? If you did, you should definitely check out the Prehab app. It includes all of our programs, a brand new workout library, and tons more videos like the one you saw today. Check it out by clicking on this link. You get a free trial. Take control of your health today.